I know it might not look like it from the view behind me, but Dunbar Castle was once one of the most powerful strongholds in Scotland. And if you just take a moment to think about where we are, then you'll kind of start to understand why. We're right at the mouth of the Firth of Forth. We're only about 30 miles from the English border, and any ships wanting into Leith and by extension Edinburgh have to come past this point. Now, a castle like that is going to have a turbulent history, and it did right up until 1567 when it was dismantled, stone by stone, by order of the Scottish Parliament. Some of that stone was even reused building a new harbour at Leith. But its most interesting period came in the 14th century, when it was under the ownership of a man called Patrick de Dunbar, 9th Earl of March. But it wasn't Patrick that left his mark on this castle, it was his charming wife, Countess Dunbar, Black Agnes. Let me set the scene for you. The year is 1338, bang smack in the middle of the Second War of Scottish Independence. Robert the Bruce has been dead for nearly 10 years, his son and heir is in hiding in France, and Scotland's just beginning to start making successful attacks into territories in the north of England, which prompts Edward III to rectify this situation by sending the Earl of Salisbury up to Scotland. On reaching Dunbar, Salisbury would have found the situation much to his liking. He had 20,000 trained men, he himself was an experienced campaigner, and Agnes really only had a handful of servants, ladies in waiting, and maybe one or two guards. There is no way he could have possibly lost. But medieval women, well, they were used to being tasked with the defence of their home, and although Agnes must have been terrified to have an army suddenly show up on her doorstep, when she was backed into a corner, she certainly came out fighting. When Salisbury catapulted huge rocks at the walls, Agnes had her ladies in waiting go out and dust the ramparts. When he rolled up with a huge siege engine called the Sow, Agnes just dropped one of the boulders he'd thrown at her earlier on top of it, completely crushing it. When Salisbury tried to bribe one of the men on the gate, well, he took the money and went straight to Agnes, who allowed the English to charge and then dropped the portcullis at the last minute, missing out on trapping Salisbury by inches after one of his soldiers pushed in front of him. Salisbury even threatened Agnes's brother, the Earl of Murray. Agnes, when her brother was brought to the front of the castle walls as life threatened, she said, "Fine, go ahead, kill him. Off you go, hang him, see if I care, I'll inherit everything he owns." Well, Salisbury didn't decide to call her bluff on that one, and eventually he had to settle down, make camp, and decided to block off the supply routes to the castle. Not to criticise the professionals, but if I was planning a siege, I would have started by cutting off the supply routes, but that's just me. As it was, by the time Salisbury put this plan into action, word of what he was up to had reached Sir Alexander Ramsay of Dalhousie, and he set out from Edinburgh with 40 men. Now, coming by sea, they came in the back door of the castle and charged out of the front gates, completely taking the English army by surprise and driving them all the way back to their camp. So that was that. 20,000 English soldiers, trained soldiers, defeated by what must have totalled some 60 odd people. A siege they really could not have possibly lost. The Second War of Scottish Independence ended with the Treaty of Berwick in 1357, and Agnes went on to live until 1369. Dunbar Castle continued to stand for another 200 years until its very calculated demise. The final blow for the castle came in 1844 with the construction of the new Victorian Harbour, where specially designed electrically fired charges were used to blast through the castle rock in order to make the new entryway for the harbour. If you want to come and visit Dunbar Castle, it has to come with a word of warning. The ruins are in an incredibly fragile state, and ever since part of them fell into the sea in 1993, public access has been severely restricted. But all that being said, you can get some spectacular views of the castle from other areas of the harbour.